Welcome to Creating Stuff. My name is Jim and welcome to my shop. In this episode, I'm working on my Inferno truck again and I am getting ready to install the winch. And like everything I seem to be doing on this truck, I'm not doing what is normally done, I'm doing something different. But tell you what, let's dive into this and I'm going to show you what is normally done, and I'm going to show you an idea of what I'm going to do. Let's get to work. Alright, to start this off, I'm going to be mounting a Warren 8274 winch. This is a used one. I did a video where I did some repair work to this. This winch is actually going to work very well, and there's actually a lot of, there's some aftermarket support for this that at a later date I'm going to be doing some modifications to this winch to make it work even better. Now, where I have it positioned right now is that for a self-recovery winch, is the typical place people will put them. You put them on the front of the vehicle because, I mean, that's my opinion, is when I'm winching out, if I get stuck, I'm moving forward. I'm not going backwards. But sometimes you have to go both ways. But this is the typical place to normally put this. Now, these upright 8274 Warren winches do have some challenges that other winches don't have. Number one, they're very tall. They take up a lot of radiator space, and for as hard as I plan to work this truck, radiator space is very valuable. You really need to keep the engine cool. Most vehicles, it's not too much of a problem. It probably won't be a problem in this one, but it could be. That, and then the other thing, as you can see, is as far as this sticks out, it actually cuts into my approach angle. Is basically, if this wasn't here, I mean, this truck could probably almost climb a 4-foot ledge. But this, with this sticking out, this will actually can actually hurt the approach angle. So, and then the larger aspect of it, which I know I've touched on it in my past videos, when I compare this to my other Toyota truck, Big Red, that truck is very nose heavy. I have a lot of bias weight to the front of the truck. So, so the whole idea of building this one is I did not want to have that problem. So basically, so I'm trying to keep as much weight in the back of the truck, or not keep weight in the back, but I want to keep an equal balance between the front and the back. So adding this weight plus the weight of the bumper will add a lot of weight to the front of the truck. So I want to avoid that. So so now follow along with me. Is I hope this doesn't get confusing, but I'm actually going to be mounting the winch behind the cab. So and also, and I do apologize, I've actually started this video a while back, probably about 8 months ago, and I lost some of the footage. So some of it is going to be old footage, some is going to be new footage that I have to reshoot. So I apologize for that. So, but what the idea is, I'm going to mount the winch behind the cab. The winch is actually going to be facing rearward. Then basically the cable will come out of the winch, is going to go to a snatch block, which will more or less permanently be part of the system. And basically it'll just be on a removable mount, I mean under the bed of the truck. And then the cable will go through that snatch block, and then I'm going to run it through cable guides so it comes out in the front of the truck. So if I want to recover myself forward, is basically all I do is pull the cable out the front and I can pull myself forward. And then the other side of it is, if I want to winch myself rearward, I leave the hook on the front of the truck anchored, and I can pull the snatch block, unhook the snatch block, pull the snatch block out the rear of the truck, and I can winch myself backwards. And then here's the trick, is then I can actually have an option that no other setup's going to have. Is I can actually pull the snatch block out of the rear, anchor it, then I can pull the hook out of the front, add another snatch block to the system, anchor that to an anchor point well as far ahead of me as I can, and then bring the hook back, hook it to the front of the truck, and then I can use the winch to tension that system up, and that will actually provide a guideline. Is basically what that will provide me is basically the winch will not actually provide any forward or rearward motion to the truck, but the line, so if the truck was sliding off the side of a hill, is I can use that to keep the truck from sliding any further down the hill, and then I use the truck's engine to propel it forward, while that steel cable will keep me in line and keep me from sliding any farther down the hill. So that has the potential of being very valuable, and that has the potential of doing something that no other system can do. But the actual real world application, I'm not going to know that until, number one, I put the system together and it works, and then I can actually get out on the trail and actually try it. So hopefully in this video, I'm hope to put the system together and put the system together and see if I can at least make it work in theory before I actually get the truck out in the real world. So now I'm going to show you some mounting options. The first one, I will show you that here in this next clip, and then I'll come back and tell you how this is going to go. All right, I am back working on Inferno today. Just got off work this morning. I already spent an hour or so working on it, which it's a little smoky in here because I had to pull the bed off, and every bolt fought me. I had to bring the smoke wrench out. I had to cut them. So now I got to pull the truck out, turn it around, assemble a body dolly, lift the bed off, and you'll see what happens here in a minute. Let's keep going. Alright, that was a little bit of work, but as you saw by the time lapse, the bed is off, and to me, this is more or less how an artist looks at a blank canvas. I have a lot of room for activity back here, a lot of, basically I think, a lot of space to make my creation. Now, I have pretty good idea what I want to do, but the truth of it is, until you start building it, and you truly start fitting it, is when you really figure out how well things are going to fit. So basically what I'm looking at doing is like this area right here. I plan to put the winch. Like I said, it should be facing rearward, and then the cable will go back through the chassis to the front. On top of the fuel tank, I plan to put the batteries. Probably up under there, I plan to put a power steering cooler, a transmission cooler, And then also somewhere back up here, I'm going to do the AC condenser. That's a long way down the road. So, well, I got a few things I got to do. And also back here, hitch is going away. The frame will probably get cut off somewhere around right here. I don't know exactly where yet. I'm going to wait until see how my plan materializes to figure out where I'm going to chop the frame off at. But it's going to be, if chances are this cross member will get rebuilt. There'll be a new cross member here regardless. So yeah, I got a lot of work to do. And I also have a little repair work to do because I do have a fuel leak on the fuel tank. Plus I have a new fuel tank sending unit to install because the fuel gauge doesn't currently work. I want to fix that. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go do some work, and rather than boring you with endless time lapses, I'm going to do a bunch of work. When I get something together, I'll bring you back and show you what I got, and see if my plan holds true. If not, I'll come up with a new one. So let's keep going. Okay, I am back. I've actually made some pretty good progress. It is nice to have the right tools for the right job. So this is just kind of mocked up. I still got to tack it all in, but basically I'm working off the factory bed mounts, made 2 wing brackets on either side, crossbar, and then a winch mounting place to go on that crossbar. And I'm going to have more bracing on it, so hold off on the criticizing me in the comments because this is not done. I'm going to do a torque bracket because that square tubing should be strong enough for pulling, but not maybe it's going to be lacking a little bit on the torque of it. So I'm going to put a torque arm on it, which is also going to be another brace for it additionally. So don't judge me just yet. So, but the position is looking good. So the cable is going to come out on the bottom. My fuel lines, I should be able to secure them up high enough. The cable should run underneath it. Snatch block is going to be somewhere in this general vicinity. I don't know exactly where yet. But basically I made these cable guides on the milling machine. It's just some DOM tubing. I rounded the inside edges, and that's going to get mounted somewhere up in there. So the cable will come out of the winch, come around the snatch block. Then I have a second one that's going to probably go up here, and then the cable will go down the frame rail of the truck into some pipe to channel it all the way to the front of the truck. So that is the current plan. But for now, I think I'm going to go ahead, weld this up. I got to make the torque arm for it, as I said. And then I need, before I paint it, I'm actually going to load test it. So I'm actually going to take a winch off my other truck, anchor on that bracket, and pull and see how much that is going to flex. It should not be, hopefully it should be acceptable. But once again, but I am testing that. So tell you what, let me quit my yak and get back to work. All right. I am actually getting ready to test my winch mount for the very first time. Not the only time I'm going to test it, but the first. So I got everything all welded together, and basically I'm not using that winch yet, but basically I put a chain bridle, snatch block, and then I've got my F250 hooked up to provide the power. It has a 12,000 pound winch. Since I'm doubled up, that's 24,000 pounds. So hopefully this won't flex a whole lot. I imagine all I'm going to do is drag this truck, and then when that happens, I'll add some weight to the front, and then I'll probably end up dragging that truck. So, but the thing of it is, whatever you build, you got to test it, and that's what I'm doing, and this is not going to be my only test. Now, also keep in mind, I'm the only person here. There'll probably be some comments about me using steel cable or whatnot, and keep in mind, when you're winching, nothing you use makes it safe. The only thing that makes it safe is distance, and basically I have a wireless remote, and so the length of cable that I have, that's going to be the distance that I'm away from it while I'm pulling it. When I pull a load, I'll probably step in to take a measurement, but I got to go get my tape measure. I got to take a measurement, do the first pull on it. So let's get at it. All right, I'm getting ready to do the first test. And what I'm going to do is I'm right at 14.5 inches. So I took that measurement. So if that bows and flexes, I should see that in the measurement. So I'm backing up, as I mentioned. The length of the cable I got out, I'm going to be that distance away from it, because guess what? It ain't going to go any farther than what it is. So let's tension it up. And there you have it, just as I said. That looks like that might have flexed 1/4 of an inch. Which, yeah, I can see a bow. I can see a bow in that square tubing. Let it off. Yep, and it deflected back, so that's good. So although that flexed a little bit, but I have an idea for the torque arm and another brace that should hopefully help with that. So I don't know. I don't think I can put any more weight on it right now, because I think I want to definitely add that other brace on there, and then I'm going to do this exact same test again and see how it turns out. So tell you what, I gotta go do some more work on this, and I want to test it again. I'll bring you back. All right, I'm back. It's been a couple of days. I'm back working on the winch mount on Inferno, and I made one change. I'm getting ready to go test it again. So let me show you what I got going on. All right, I added this brace right here. This actually goes down and ties into a factory cross member, same cross member the support bearing for the drive shaft attaches to. Yep, so I added that, and basically that brace will do two things. Number one is this winch is going to create a lot of torque, so that long arm going all the way back there tying into this will help eliminate twisting of this, because this 2-inch square tubing is a little too small to handle for the torque that's going to produce. And then the other side of it is, because when I tested it the first time, this right here came out 1/4 of an inch. When I loaded it up, when I was dragging this truck back, it deflected 1/4 inch, and it returned to its original shape. So technically it did not fail, but I really want to go that much extra. So like I said, that little arm right there is going to do two things: help with the torque, and then give it a little bit more strength. If I need any more, which I hope I do not, I have other options. I really don't want to go over those right now. And also these brackets are not fully welded in. I've got a lot of some welding I gotta do. I gotta take the fuel tank out to get to that. And plus this bracket has to come off so I can get the welding on the underside. Plus I have other fabrication to do to this before I'm ready to paint it. So because I'm planning to mount dual batteries right here, so I gotta put the mounts on for those. So I'm gonna go test this again and see how it does. And if it looks good, then I'll keep building everything else I need. And then when I finally get to the final, when I'm done fabricating, I'll take it all apart, paint it. I gotta weld everything down there anyways. So, but tell you what, I'm not gonna bore you, but let me go set this up to test it again and see if it will do better. So hang on, bring you back in a minute. All right, I got the, I'm all hooked up. I'm all set up again. 12,000 pound winch, doubled up, capable of pulling 24,000 pounds, that is. Chained up here. So now let me just check my measurement again. I'm about 14.5 inches. So let me back up, get the wireless remote out, and see what happens. All right, here we go. All right, I'm dragging the truck back, so I am probably maxed out. And I can already tell this thing doesn't look like it has any bow to it. And I'm still dead on the money. 14.5 inches, that did not flex at all. So I am actually very happy with that. So tell you what, I think I'm going to add some more weight because I was dragging this truck. So I think I'm going to add some more weight and see what happens. All right, I'm back for load testing it the third time. First time I drug the truck back. The bracket flexed 1/4 inch but returned, so it did not permanently deform. 12,000 pound, doubled up, 24,000 pounds. This time I added more dead weight. I have my tractor, parking brake is set, grader box is down, and I'm chained to the front of the truck. So yeah, let's see what happens. All right, I actually got to the point where I actually pulled the tractor in that a little bit, and then the F-250 started to move. So I am more or less maxed out with the weight I've got. And I'm still sitting on 14.5. The bar's noticeably straight. That's gonna work. So now I'm going to break all this down, and the next step is I'm actually going to wire power up to the winch, and I'm going to do a single line pull. And just, I mean, once again, this is just testing. I'm putting a lot of load on this, a lot. And all honesty, the load I'm putting on that is probably more than the winch is going to do, because the winch can do 10,000 pounds and I'm dragging an 8,000 pound truck. So once again, it should be good, but I'm not going to know until I know for certain. So tell you what, I'm going to break all this down and I'll bring you back when I have something for you to see. All right, well, I am back. I am back working on the winch system on Inferno. So I got a couple hours in. I'm going to show you where I'm at, and hopefully it's starting to make sense for what I'm doing. So let's take a look. All right, first off, I got my fuel tank out, because I had to finish a weld under there I couldn't get to, and plus right where I had to get to, the fuel tank was leaking, so that's very dangerous. So fuel tank is out. I got to repair a leak on the fuel tank as well, but that weld is done, and now hopefully, like I said, this should start coming together, because I got these tacked in place right now. These are cable guides, so the cable will come out of the winch. It will go through that cable guide, around this snitch block, and through this cable guide, and go down next to the frame. It's going to run through pipe, which I have not. That's my next step, what I got to do next, and then it will come out all the way up here. That's all that's just tacked in. So then the cable will come out here. I hope that makes sense. So Well, I hope all that stuff makes sense, and please understand this right here, this is an odd shaped shackle I've had forever. It's kind of small, so I never really used it much, so I'm just going to weld it right here for the time being. And keep in mind, everything is temporary, because I gotta, once again, I have to fit everything, make sure the system works. But in the final product, the frame's going to probably get cut off like right here. I'm going to build a new rear cross member, but in the final product is basically where this is going to live. I'll have a pin that will drop in by hand from the top that will lock that in place. And so if I need a winch from the rear, I pull the pin out, then I can pull the snatch block out the rear. So this is just temporary, just to prove that this system works. And that will actually get welded up a little bit more. Then also these cable guides, understand even these and the one in the front, that they are cable guides. Basically, there's the final product, when I do the armor on the truck with the exo cage, the bumpers, and yada yada yada, I'm going to have a type of fair lead front and rear, for basically where that fair lead will take the side loads up and down. It'll take the load from any direction, where all these are meant for is just guiding the cable. This is just making sure the cable goes into the spool of the winch. This is make sure that the cable goes down that way to go down into the pipe. So tell you what, I'm gonna keep working. I'm gonna see about getting the pipe on the underside of the truck, see what I gotta do to make that work. Then after I do that, then I'm gonna probably be stringing cable, and I'm getting to the point now where either this system's gonna work, or I'm gonna have a very expensive rear winch for this truck, because all else fails, if this system does not work, the winch I mounted back here, it'll just stay there. It'll be a rear mounted winch, and then I'll have to put a winch on the front as well. So I really hate to do that, but hopefully this system will work. But there's only one way to find out if it works. You got to do it. So let's get back to work. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little progress of what I got going on here on Inferno with my winch. Is I got the pipe. This is one piece is bent right here. It levels out, and I've got the pipe set up going underneath the truck. And I did it in two pieces, and hopefully you can see it. It comes out right here, and this section up to there, I don't have enough room for pipe. So it's going to be bare cable across there. It should be okay. But I'll figure it out. We'll see if it works. So all that's tacked in. The pipe is not welded. I think, like the guides, I may go ahead and weld them in. I might still just tack the pipe for now, just because I don't know if it's even going to work. But we'll see. You don't achieve anything unless you try. And I think the downfall of this particular setup is I'm going to probably have a reduced pulling power going off the front, because every time like the cable has a change of direction and runs through here, runs through that pipe, it creates drag. So it's going to take some of the power away. The good news is that winch right there is very powerful. Although it's 8,000 pound winch, that was back when they rated them differently, where that winch there works all day long at 8,000 pounds, but it stalls at 10,000 pounds. So that's a good thing. So I should have plenty of pulling power, and there is an aftermarket upgrade, which I will probably do at some point or another, where I'll actually put dual motors on the top of that. I'll put a new top housing on it with 2 electric motors. So that will actually increase the power and the speed of it, even though that is already the fastest winch on the market, the fastest electric winch that's ever been made, at least in my opinion. So I think those are going to be the anyways. So once again, all the friction points that I'm adding, I believe that's going to is going to take some of the power away from me. But ultimately, you got to do it to find out, to see if that's even going to be the case. So, but I'm willing to go through and give it a shot. So I think I'm going to go ahead and weld some of these guides on all the way. Like I said, the pipe, I'm still going to probably just tack that just in case. And then, as you can see over here, I've already gotten the mounts for the batteries, which I bought a couple of these nice little aluminum battery mounts, which work very nice, and I made the mounting plate to mount those two. And then this right here, I just drilled a hole in the side, and basically this is just mocked up, but basically this is going to be a cutoff switch so I can kill the battery power to the winch, just in case a solenoid locks up, fails, or whatnot. I can disable it. It's not a bad idea to do that when you're not using it, when the truck's sitting most of the time anyways. And then also I'm going up to 2 batteries. This is the second. I already bought an additional battery, and I still have the other one. I haven't brought it back here yet. But I'm going to wire these up in parallel, and then I'm going to run a pair of cables all the way up to the front, and I'm going to put another battery switch to disable the truck. And that's just, bottom line is, that's just how I'm going to do it. Just because I can. But I am actually running a actual physical ground cable all the way up there. I know I can ground to the chassis. That's how everything's done. But the truth of it is, I'm kind of picky about a few things. Like I'm going to run a ground cable, like, because that winch actually grounds through the mount. But I'm actually going to run an actually ground cable to the winch itself, so I make sure I have a very good ground. And the same with everything in the front. So I'm just kind of picky about like that. And when I go to make the battery cables, you will see how I make them, which I have the best I build the best battery cables around. I'm very happy with them. The set I built in Big Red, probably over 25 years ago, and they're still on that truck. They still work fantastic. So anyways, I think at this point, even though this is still an experiment, I think I'm going to go ahead and take the winch mount off. I'm going to weld on it a little bit more, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint it. So when I put it back on, I put the fuel tank back on. So hopefully that mount doesn't have to come off again. The cable guides and the cable channel, that's still a question mark. I don't know how that's going to work, but I think it's safe to say the winch is. I think the mount's going to work. I'm going to stick with that. So let me get back to work, and all honesty, it's going to probably be a couple of days before I bring you back. It'll be just a second or two for you, but it'll probably be a couple of days for me. So I'll see you in a bit. All right, I'm back. Probably been a couple of seconds for you, been a couple of days for me. And actually, just to give you a sense of what time it is, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, or whatever you want to hear. So today is actually Christmas. I had to go into work this morning, but luckily I just only had to work 5 hours, let someone go spend their Christmas with their kids. But you know, that's why I do that all the time. But now it's the rest of the day is for me, and I'm out working here on Inferno, and I've already got a couple hours in, and let me show you what I got. I got the winch mount painted. Before I left a couple days ago, I put a coat of paint on the winch mount. So I went ahead, I more or less, I was trying to save myself from taking it back apart again. So I said, screw it, I'm going to go ahead and paint it. So painted the winch mount's on, winch is on. I got a fuel tank back in. Like I said, I got all the welding done underneath as I stated in the last time I recorded. Like I said, fuel tank's back in. I put a new fuel tank sensor in it, because the level gauge did not work, but it should work now. And then, and I even got my batteries mounted. I'm getting ready to start running some battery cables. So I decided to go ahead and run 2 batteries right now. I'm going to wire them in parallel. So in the future, I might do a battery isolator. So I run on one battery, the other one will stay charged, and then if for whatever reason I leave the ignition on and the primary battery goes dead, I can turn on the secondary battery, will still be charged, so I can switch to that to get the truck started. But that's down the road. I'm just doing them in parallel for right now. And then down here, this is a battery switch. This is going to be a kill switch for the winch. So just so the winch is not energized all the time, and when eventually I get the bedside on, I should be able to reach over the bedside and turn that on and off as needed. And then also, I didn't show you, but I welded a couple nuts on that brace, so I have something to zip tie my fill hoses to, which the vent line, I've got to get that a little bit longer to get that to arc right. But the reality of it is, I'm not even going to worry about that until I go to refit the bedsides. Depending on where the fuel net goes, I'll adjust that later, but it'll work for now. So, but yep. So now I'm getting ready. I'm going to run the battery cables up to the front. I'm going to put a cutoff switch up there and wire the winch up. And before you know it, I'm going to be putting cable on this winch to see if the system works. So let me get back to work. I'll bring you back when I have something to show you. All right, back on the Inferno build again, back on my winch setup. I ended up having another, when I was hooking everything up, I had another solenoid go bad in that, so I replaced it. I still have yet, I just went ahead and ordered the fourth one, so I'll have 4 brand new solenoids in there. That'll be fine. All the tubes that the cable's running in, they're just tacked in for right now. I want to make sure all this works before I put them in permanent. But as you can see, I did temporarily run the cable through here. I can pull it tight. I feel comfortable. I had to bend that a couple extra times just so when the cable tensions up, it doesn't really matter that's in the center of that hole, but it looks good. So, but all that's tacked in. If it'll work, I'll weld it in. Snatch block is back here, and I got my batteries. All of my battery cables are put in. Cost me a little bit of money, but you know what? I'm gonna do it right. So, and unfortunately, I ran out of clear heat shrink this size, so I got to mark some other cables later. But once again, I did my trick where I used a label maker, some clear heat shrink, so I could actually label these battery cables. And these pair right here go all the way to the front, which I'll show you in a second. I put a battery master switch, cutoff switch there. This switch right here is for the winch. I had somebody criticize me here lately that my winches need to be fuse protected, which I mean, is not a bad idea, but I just don't, I mean, I'd rather just, I've always run them straight to the battery, because when I'm pulling a heavy load, I don't want a circuit breaker cutting me out. So anyway, but I met them in the middle. I put a cutoff switch in, so if I have a short, if the motor starts smoking or the solenoid starts smoking, I can kill that without killing the rest of the truck. So I'm pretty happy with that. So, but the winch goes both ways, and so it's working. And basically, I got the side cover off. There's the hole right there. The cable will run through. Put a cable clamp on it on the inside of that drum, and that will be ready to go. In the engine compartment where the battery used to be, I put a battery cutoff switch. So basically, that right there is kills the power to the entire truck, not counting the winch. It has its own cutoff switch, but that's equivalent of disconnecting your battery. So once again, just because I'm running a remote battery, I think that's a good idea. Once again, I had to join battery cables up here anyways, so it was no big deal to actually put a cutoff switch. And the bracket is bolted on was a bracket that I had laying around. I put it in basically I bent it the wrong way, but it still works for this application. So I made that on my plasma table, bent it on the press brake. All this mess up here, don't pay attention to that. That will get cleaned up in the future. Now I'm at the point where I'm going to pull the truck outside, going to spool the cable up and do some tests and see how the system works. I'm going to bring you along with me, so let's get to it. Okay, hopefully this is starting to make sense at this point. I just finished spooling the cable up for the first time. It's spooled up halfway decent. This piece, this guide, I may have to move back as far as possible. But once again, where the back of the truck ends up is going to be the determining factor for that. Because it actually spools, despite what you can see, it actually spools up halfway decent on its own. Just when it goes to reverse from one side back to the other, it doesn't, once it gets it going neat, it stays neat until it has to switch back to the other direction. So the only thing that helped that is if I pull that back as far as I can, but I'm gonna have to wait and see. And some of this stuff, like I said, if this system works, I'll just might have to come up with a workaround. But moving on, as you can see, I have it, the shackle here, welded here, then the cable goes through there underneath the truck, and then it comes out here on the front. And the only reason I have these blocks of wood here is because the final product, if this works, the final product, when I do the front bumper, the armor and all that, I will have smooth fair leads to direct the cable every direction. I'll have a place to hook it, and this is just so I don't, if I did not have this here and just had that little piece of pipe right there with that little radius, I'd kink the cable, could possibly damage it just because there is a sharp edge there. So that's just to protect the cable. And for the time being, I have a strap going around the shock tower with a shackle on it. So tell you what, I am going to go ahead and do the first ever pull on this. I'm going to start in the rear. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this up. I'm going to take the snatch block off, hook it back there to the F250. I'm going to lock everything up so all four wheels are going to be locked, and see if I can drag the truck backwards. I feel very confident it's going to work, but then the other side of it is, if anything, you might be entertaining, because if parts start flying, that'll be entertaining for you. So, all right, let's give it a shot. But I have it hooked up to the front of the F250 with a snatch block back there coming back here. So let me go ahead and power it up and see what happens. And unfortunately, I do not have a wireless remote for this yet, but I will, but just not right now. Well, I'm happy with that. I was actually pulling the F250, so that's pretty, I think that's working pretty good so far. Now I'm going to switch this around. I'm going to bring the snatch block in. I'm going to do a pull from the front. So let me get rigged for the front. I'll bring you back. All right, as you see now, I have the cable coming out of the front of the truck all the way down, and I got it hooked to my tractor. So this will be a single line pull. The rear is always going to be a double line pull. And back here, hopefully you can hear me over the engine, is the snatch block is anchored back here. So so it is stationary. So I'll give you, so I'll tell you what. Alright, that worked. Let me show you another view. Alright, I had to turn the truck off just, I want to make sure you could hear me. That pull I did, I'm going to show you another vantage point, but the one thing I will say, the issue that has come up is basically, I started, where this is welded, I started flexing this up. I was actually flexing the whole back half of the frame. So in order to pull off the front, I have to All this has to get reinforced, which that was the plan anyways. All this right here is temporary, because when I do the final armor, exo cage, and all that, there is going to be a spot with steel fair leads to guide the cable back here wherever the truck ends, and then I was going to do a solid steel. There'll be like a rectangle frame with a solid steel pin going through, and for the sheer fact that I was starting to rip this out, and I was actually flexing the front. I could actually see the back of the frame flex up a little bit. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of reinforcement for this to be able to give a solid pull off the front. But basically what I did to change the pull was I shifted into two-wheel drive and only locked up the rear wheels, because the front had so much weight on it. It would, and for the sheer fact the cable was pulling down, the front end bit real hard, and if I kept going it was going to break something. So I got plenty of pulling power, but basically the anchor point for the snatch block has to get reinforced. That's good to know. Like I say, you don't know it until you test, because all this was temporary, but when I do the final, I'm gonna have to do a lot of reinforcement back here to make it work. But now I just reverse the winch a little bit and I'll spool it up. And it has no issue. Like I said, once I disengage the front end, it had no issue dragging the rear wheels, but there's no weight back here. So once I beef that up, winching off the front, I think should technically be an option. So, and like I said, that was a dead pull that I was doing, where basically when I started flexing everything, the front diff was locked in four-wheel drive, and the cable was actually going down, so you're actually putting more downforce on the front two tires that were both locked. So that was a real dead pull. So plenty of power. I was worried about having a lack of power going through all the pipe and all that. I thought the friction might give me some problems. So far, luckily not. I'll rip that off before it becomes a problem. So, but now I'm going to set it up for one last thing to show you a benefit that this system can do and none other. So I'll bring you back in a second. All right, in this setup, I have the snatch block hooked to the F250. I'm short back here, and then going up front, I have the cable coming out of the front, snatch block up in my tractor, comes back and anchors to the front of the truck. I just have the strap wrapped around the shock tower because I don't have the toe points yet. That's coming in the future. So, but this is just to do a proof of concept. So technically, how this should work is I'm going to tension this up. The cable should get tight. I should be able to fire the truck up and drive all the way up to the tractor. And so this cable will act as a guideline. So technically, if I was on an extreme side hill, theoretically, it should be able to keep me from sliding down. And then the truck will propel itself going forward. So let's give this a try. So I'm going to go ahead and tension the cable up. All right, I got tension. So now I'm going to set this right here. I'm going to kill the power to the winch just for safety's sake. And let's hop in the truck. All right, I got the truck fired up. I'm going to go ahead and kick the bit. Yeah, we'll just keep it in a single low right now. So I should be able to put it in drive. And as you can see, the truck is moving. Well, that seems like that worked. All right, well, here it is from the rear. Snatch block. I drove the truck under its own power that entire distance. So in theory, once again, in theory, if I have off camber or a slide to the side, that should actually help keep me straight. And I paced it out, and I'm about 25 feet short on cable.
because that winch holds 150 feet and I'm wasting 20 of it going through the truck. So when the final setup, I'm going to add 20-25 feet of cable to the whole setup. So that right there, usable distance for this setup is about 45 feet. And I can probably stretch that by another, hopefully another 5 to 10 feet when I get the right size, right length of cable on there. But the actual real world application, I don't know how that's going to work. Only one way to find out is to do it. So, but so far, I got to say, I'm happy how this is turning out so far. It actually seems to work. So I tell you what, I'm going to bring you back in a minute. Well, I am back in the shop, ready to wrap this up. The winch system worked great. Like I said, it worked very well, much anticipated. Actually, here's one last shot of it. Like I said, it worked great. I still have to weld all the tubes in completely, throw some paint on them so they don't rust. This will get redone, but it's going to be farther down the road when the actual bed of the truck gets built. When I figure out exactly where the back of the truck's going to be, that will get taken care of. This is nowhere near strong enough, so that's in the works. But I got the batteries all done, battery switch, the cutoff switch, everything is working great. I'm very happy with it. I'm excited. I was going to do a test of the Guideline system with this on how I have the snatch block front and rear and use it to guide the truck. But when I started messing around with it, I felt better having an extra person around for that. So I will probably do that as a video on its own, a good demonstration of how that works, more realistic than what I did. I should have had an outside view rather than the inside cab view I did on the Guideline, but it is what it is. I'm limited for time right now. So, but if you want to see more of that, like I said, and you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel and you see more stuff I do. And I've got a few more things I'm working on this. And so yeah, so I'm enjoying myself. I'm very excited on how this is turning out. I'm excited on how Inferno is doing all together. So tell you what, I'm gonna let you sign it off here. So tell you what, I'll see you on the next one. Be creative.